the 9th of March. Look, I hope you're all doing extremely well. I hope you all had a great weekend and ready for the week ahead. So look, let me know how you've been doing during the week. The weekend and all that good stuff. Look, the first thing to say is this is the best platform. This is the best community on this platform, hands down. So look, feel free to get into this and give me your views and opinions. And of course, I'll also say this, please be respectful of the community. Danny is already in the house. Absolute legend, Danny, and I hope you're doing extremely well, my friend. Look, be respectful to yourselves, be respectful to the community, the moderators, everyone in there, and everyone gets on fine. And exactly, hit that like button. It does really does help us out. And the second thing to say is, look, I'm not a dictator of this chat. I really do read out your views and opinions. That's why these shows take so long, because you guys do put in your chats, and we do really do an amazing community here. So please feel free to get into all of that stuff. So look, I've not been on for a couple of days. There's not really been a lot to report, and this channel wouldn't have come on and spam you on the things that I don't believe are true. But look, I've been reaching out for the last couple of days to people, and look, I'm going to report to you the things that I've been told back in December time. Now I reported on here a couple of bits and pieces that came true, that were around about true, and now I've been back onto my trusty source, and I'm going to bring some stuff for you today. Sky says, good on JB, 40k almost upwards. And look, yeah, that's probably the first place to start. Is look, over the weekend the channel hit 40,000 subscribers, which is absolutely insane. You know, when I first started this, you know, look, it was just done because, you know, I wanted to do something in a different way. You know, I know every channel professes and protests that they do content in a different way. I really do feel like here we do content in a different way. Now, we are a fan channel at the end of the day, and there are equally as good communities, particularly the smaller ones. Sky said you should be very proud of your channel and doing. Look, Sky, and again, you know, I'm extremely proud of what we do here. You know, look, this, I know it's such a cliche to say, you know, that you know, these things don't happen without you guys, but it's true. This channel doesn't exist without you guys. I'm not going to say a name. I don't. Listen, I do not need a sub that bad. So, you know, look. Yeah. I'm not going to say that. The targets I'm hearing recently are not going to be better than next season. And look, Sally, I will tell you, I wanted to come on last night. I wanted to come on last night to give you the updates that I know. And look, part of me wishes part of me wishes no chance. There's part of me that wishes that I came on here last night, just on the basis that, you know, what's really funny is that this morning a lot of it is starting to come out. He says you gotta love Casemiro. Do I love Casemiro? I don't love Casemiro. That Casemiro has been stealing a wage from this club for a very long time. This season Casemiro has been good. Look, I've got a lot of time for Casemiro this season, but for people to jump onto this whole player FC stuff, like, Casemiro is having a good season. Casemiro hasn't been good for the last 2 seasons. Casemiro hasn't been great for the last 4 games. Look, all I'm going to say on this is, like, I respect Casemiro. You know, we didn't get prime Casemiro. Are we going to miss Casemiro? No. Look, like 2 midfielders, even here in centre back, we have not got our look. Sally, I'll bring you everything that I know as well, and everything that I've been told, and I will get into all that now. So look, Scott is in the house. Tonali and Anderson would make me happy. Look, Tonali and Anderson, look, guys, is not going to happen. This camera. is not going to happen. Look, you know, look, one of the things when we're talking about the transfer window, why I wrote that I'll never know. Scott says he's unwell. Look, Scott, mate, I hope you feel better, buddy. Feel better soon, my friend. And yeah, mate, I feel you, buddy, because you know, like I've been ill, and yeah, Scott, mate, I hope you get better soon, buddy. So, where are we? So, what have I been told? What have I been told? What do I know? So, I think we need to start on the Nagelsmann stuff. So, let's start there. So, Christian, let's start again. So, Nagelsmann. So, Nagelsmann, where are we? So, Nagelsmann is the one that United really want. Now, Emery is available apparently at the end of the season. So we might as well just go on the managerial merry-go-round for a second. So, DJ Dark Knight is in the house. So, pay for me to get well. So, Nagelsmann is basically the guy that is being pushed at United. So our friend Christian. So look, United, Carrick, as far as I'm aware, is still the favourite to get the job. Now look, as we've reported before, is that United don't want to spend a lot of money on a manager. Now look, Emery for me would be my absolute choice. I think Emery for me would be my choice. Now look, Dino is in now the house. Now I know that United don't want to pay for a coach. However, Emery could be leaving Aston Villa in the summer. Now, look, one of the first questions I wanted to really ask the community now is, if there was a choice between Nagelsmann, Carrick, Zerbi, and Emery, who would you pick? Because look, we're not going to go and get an Enrique. Look, we all know that there are going to be lots and lots of reports linking us to those sorts of managers, but it looks like Emery could be available. Can we just give Carrick a 3-year deal, give him some cash, and see how it goes? DJ, look, mate, I respect the opinion. I just think that would be such a Carrick for me right now. And look, as I've said this, unless a manager gets backed, I don't know whether or not Carrick will get back. Will be the guy. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter which coach we get, as Sully has said there, right? Unless these coaches get backed, you don't know. So Carrick, we don't know. I don't know how good he is. I mean, I think from a tactical perspective, I don't think he's very, very good at the moment. But is that because he doesn't have the players? Because he knows he can't do the tactics that he wants to. If you look at Ruben Amorim, Ruben couldn't employ his tactics on the basis that he knows he didn't have the players. He pushed it, but did it mean that he was right to do that? No. But at the same time, Carrick, look, this is one thing that I'm starting to not pick up on, but one thing that I think is starting to become obvious more and more and more, and I have said this, is that as much as I don't think Carrick is the guy right now, I think I still have to be fair on him. Look, nobody's going to know until you get your players, because you want to get a team that you think is correct. And Carrick is not going to get that chance. Now, look, for me, Nagelsmann, is it Nagelsmann, isn't it? So Nagelsmann, for me, look, I think for me he is the guy. Yeah, Nagelsmann for me, I think is definitely the one for me. Look, if we're talking about a De Zerbi, a Nagelsmann, a Carrick, for me, the two that I would like, I think that Nagelsmann or an Emery, but are they going to be backed? United do like they do like Carrick. I think Carrick is going to be the guy. I think he's going to be a cheap option. But if Emery becomes available, if Nagelsmann decides to sign a new contract, his contract's in 2028, we are looking at the likes of a Glazman. I don't think he's gonna be the guy. We are looking at an Emery. We are going to be looking at a Carrick. We are going to be looking at a De Zerbi. We're going to be looking at those sorts of players. So, look, I just think it is worth bringing this into the show today, because I think we are in March. We need to be bringing in a coach, or we need to be sort of appointing a coach with a view to bringing him into this squad very, very soon. So, look, as far as I am aware, Nagelsmann is really up on that list. Carrick is also up there as well. And look, Emery, if it's true, United would absolutely look at that as well. So one of the things we do need to think about is cost and price. So let me see what we're saying in this chat. Look. Switch says Enrique would be my choice, but we're not going to get him. So Nagelsmann is the next best thing. I don't want Villa and Arsenal sloppy seconds. And look, Switch, I think that is a valid point, because look, I get that, I do get that, but my reasoning, and I think goes with Danny and what he said there. It doesn't matter who the manager is, they won't get backed, right? We need a coach who's going to be able to work with these players. As we've spoken about, and I am going to do another show on the financial side of it. This club is not going to spend hundreds of millions of pounds this summer. You've got the likes of the INEOS, the Glazers. You've got Omar Barada. You've got the Wilcox. You've got those sorts of players. Those sorts of players there who those sorts of people there who are using the data. If you've ever watched a film called what's it called? So Moneyball, right? If you've ever watched that film, in that film, they basically use a data-driven system whereby they look at the data, they look at the age, they look at all that sorts of stuff, and they bring in the players based on the data. Now, they're not always looking for the most expensive or the best of the best. They are looking at the data. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with looking at the data, looking at these players and that sort of stuff. But the reason why I bring it in is because I think a coach is going to have to deal with that. I think a coach is going to have to come in and deal with a data-led buying club. And also what that means is that they're going to use the data in terms of internals. So if any of their players that they feel like they don't want to sell, or they don't feel like they can do because they don't have the money, they're going to use the data. They're going to use the data to drive that, and they're going to use the data to fool you and to fool me into basically saying, for example, like Luke Shaw, for his age, for his wage, for where he plays, is probably the best left back right? And that is what a manager who comes in is going to have to deal with. Also, a manager who's going to have to come into this side is going to have to work with a probably the worst director of football that we've ever had. So a Wilcox for me is I think if anybody, when a manager meets him, they're going to run for the hill. So look, I think it's definitely worth looking at this. The managerial side of it is going to hot up, but keep an eye on Nagelsmann, because I think he's going to be the guy. Look, he spits the fan base where the manager is concerned. I've mentioned Eddie Howe to you a few times, but Emery would also be an excellent choice. And Jerry, look, I am with you. Eddie Howe, I agree with you. I like Eddie Howe. I've mentioned Eddie Howe quite a few times. I do like Eddie Howe. United are not going to pay for him, And look, what I'm telling you now is some of the stuff that I've been told. So I'm telling you some of the stuff that I've been told. So this show is about me giving you an update as to the things that I've been told. Eddie Howe is United really like Eddie Howe, but they're just not going to do it. They're just not going to do it because they can't. They can't afford to do it. Like the Tonali stuff. Tonali, forget that, and we'll talk about that when we get on to the transfer stuff. But look, Howe is admired. Howe, I think, is a fantastic coach, but the price rules him out. Bring in Nagelsmann, and Red Devil News. Agree with you. I really like him. I really like him. I really do. If Dalot, Shaw, Ugarte still here next season, forget about my expectations. Now, Danny, I think, and again, I'll go through that as well. Is that, look, what we've got to understand, and I think, and what's frustrating for me on here the most is we talk about things on here that are ahead of the game, right? So when the Q2 stuff came out, and on here we spoke about how people were waxing on about the 33 million pounds that they made, never minding the profit that they actually made was minus 2.5 million. We did a show on here about how United could spend X amount of money, but we can't because of the debt, because we are literally going to be owing at least 700 million pounds on the transfer. Yes, they can restructure that, but that is actually owed. And what's really funny this morning is that I've seen a lot of people mention that this morning. I've seen a lot of people who were the previous week talking about how we're going to spend 340 million pounds, blah, right? We, on this channel, were talking about this, right? Now, the reason why I bring that in is because, Danny, mate, you're right. Look, we've got a Dalot, a Luke Shaw, Ugarte, right? Nobody's going to buy Shaw. A club who doesn't, they don't have a pot to piss in, right? They cannot afford to let these players go, right? Any club with any sort of backbone, any club who are forward thinking would get rid of these players, right? Ugarte, yes, of course. Look, Ugarte, should you be getting some money for Ugarte? And my answer to that is yes. Ugarte, whether we like it or not, Ugarte is probably worth at least 25 million quid, right? At least, right? So Dalot probably, and again, I think he's worth money. I think you could probably get 25 to 30 million. Luke Shaw is done. Any club, any forward-thinking club would go out there and they would get rid and sell these players. When we are, looking to sell Onana and break even or make some money on Onana, what do you expect? This club is seriously going to bring Onana back, and the expectation is that they're going to sell him equal to what they got, or basically make some money off of him. There is no hope. That is who we are dealing with. Some of the clowns at this club, they honestly believe, and this is what I've been told. I'm going to tell you this because this is what I've been told. This has already been reported out there, but I'm going to tell you what I've been told. I've got lots of things to give you an update on. This club seriously thinks that it's going to make a profit on this goalkeeper. And Nana is only going to be sold if they can make a profit or break even on this goalkeeper. They still see him as a prime asset. It's ludicrous. We're dealing with people who think that they can actually make money on this goalkeeper. There are people who are frustrated. There are people who are higher up in the club who are very, very frustrated with some of the decisions of the footballing people, because one of the things to remember is that there are a couple of sides to this club. You've got the footballing side that are led by a bunch of fucking clowns, but you've also got board members, and you've also got the other side of the board who are just like us, who can just see the wood for the trees, but they are beaten down. They can see the wood for the trees, but these people can't. So the problem here is, when we should be getting rid of a Luke Shaw and Ugarte, the number one issue is then you've got to replace the three players. I completely agree with you, Danny. 100%. We've got to get rid of these players. But then that's three players that you've got to replace. I'd argue on top of these players, imagine this, right? Imagine this. You get rid of a Luke Shaw. Okay? He's gone. Luke Shaw's gone. We need another left back as it is. We need to go get two left backs. If you get rid of Ugarte, you get rid of... We've only got Ugarte in the midfield and Kobe Mainoo and Casemiro. Casemiro's gone, right? You're going to need at least two, even with him there. If you get rid of an Ugarte, I'd argue you'd need three. So that's two left backs. So a Dallo, you get rid of him. I know you've got a Mazraoui that can play on that side as well. Look, Mazraoui, for me, I like Mazraoui, but I'm not overly convinced. Like, I like him, but I'm still not overly convinced that he is the... I think he's good at doing a job. I think he's a good all-round left, right back. I think he's a good cover player. But is he the player? Is he the right back that's going to win you a league? No. He's a very good squad player. So we're going to need another one of those. It's just scary. MS says, Carrick is like Ollie. Once he gets the contract, downfall will come. Players play good, not because for him, but for the next manager. I'll come and be... Let's have a look. Carrick has enough to mix up a back four formation. He took too long to notice Cunha working off the left. Feels like he's overthrowing it because we have big gaps. Overthinking, you're just... I'll leave you to that. It's painful or having a manager who we all back and give him... Isn't it painful not having a manager? Yes, it is. I do agree with you completely. No matter who we get, they won't ever be backed in the January. So let's get that. Something about... so look. So we can stop talking about... Oh, God. Yeah, let's try to bring this chat back to football. So the coach we need, who exactly could be in the frame? Well, come back on to that. You don't look at the chat. Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm an Arsenal fan. Well done. Oh, Jesus Christ! I'll leave you lot. Jesus Christ! God, the chat today. Jesus. Well, Eddie Howe sitting in the dugout at Old Trafford, can't see it really. No, all I hear is excuses from the club, and I agree with you. Trent said JB. Let's have a little look. A lot of this we have said has been true, and Dino, it is, mate. You know, this is probably the one frustrating thing that I would say on this channel is that, look, we are ahead of the curve on this channel. We are ahead of the curve. I just don't understand some games you're watching and our players look like a team won, if not worse. Yeah, I do agree with you on that one. And get through some of your chats. Bloody hell. We couldn't give Onana away free if we wanted. That's true. We need a restraining order on Onana. Can't let him anywhere near Carrington. So look, Onana genuinely thinks that he's going to compete. He does. He thinks he's going to come back and compete. City is better. Disagree with you. We need 2 fullbacks, 3 mids, centre back, left wing at least, and we have Viteka's number 2. I prefer Clivert if we were going to buy from Bournemouth. If we get into Europe, we need 2 teams. I agree with you. Hugo says, hi. Hello, Hugo. Phoenix says, sounds like you want to make the Fred and McTominay mistake again. They weren't great, but they weren't terrible. Buy better before replacing plays like a Dallo and Maz. And I agree with you. Like, I agree with you. You know, look, we can't get rid of all these players. You know, I've got no problem in building the squad. Like, Mazraoui, for me, is a good squad player. We need squad players. Like Ugarte, for me, is, I don't want Ugarte to be the first choice. You know, you look at Malacia, right? Malacia is the perfect example of a squad player that I don't want. If you look, when I say a squad player, you know, we need something. We need something better. You know, I would argue this, right? I would argue this, and some people are going to say that I'm probably a little bit mad for saying this, right? Now, as much as I like this player, I think this player is a good player. Well, in fact, I think he's more than a good player. I think he's a fantastic player, right? But I tell you who I would have as a squad player, a squad stroke, a first team player. I think that we can get better in that position. And I think this play for me has disappointed slightly this season. And that's Acuna. Cunha, for me, is a team squad player. For me, he's the epitome of a team squad player of the standard that I would like. And what I mean is that, do I think that Cunha is a world-class superstar player that walks into any top 2 side? I don't think he does. I've seen enough of Cunha this season. I think Cunha is a fantastic player. I think Cunha could be a starter. But I also think that Cunha could be a very good rotational player in this squad. And look, I'm not saying this for clicks. I'm not saying it to be I've watched him this season. On his day, Cunha can be an absolute fantastic player. And what Cunha reminds me of is he reminds me of the Trossard type of player. And what I mean is that he's within his own right. If he went to a Newcastle, he'd start. For a United side now, he's a starter, right? If you're looking at an Arsenal, and I'm going to mention an Arsenal because they are top of the league. If you look at an Arsenal, if you look at a Bayern Munich, if you look at a City, if you look at a Barcelona, if you look at a Real Madrid, is Cunha going to walk into those sides as a first team player? I don't think he does. I think Cunha is on the cusp of, if he had a good performance in the training, I think he starts. I've got no problem in starting Cunha, but for me, I just think that you can get an improvement on Cunha. I think for me, Cunha is the example for me of what I think a squad player should be. I do. Poor JB is having to avoid the. I am. United won't be back anytime soon. Hello from the Netherlands. Not upset, just disappointed. Listen. So look. Oh God, guys. RDE have heard that Carrick is trying to get Casemiro to sign his extension because we may have a Europe next season and we'll need the experience. Nah. I'll be stunned. Look, Casemiro is leaving. I don't look if United decided to give Casemiro an extension on his deal, then be scared. Be very, very afraid. Be very, very scared. Because just be scared. Be very, very frightened. Because as I've said, and other channels have reported this, oh, United are going to spend 300 million. They look stupid. They look fucking stupid. Because Casemiro is we're trying to build a team and you can't, I don't care. Look, as of now, it's bullshit. I just no. United will sign Madou from Sundowns. I don't know. I agree with Garcia and Madison. They need to go. Casemiro is already leaving. Luke Shaw needs replacing. Maguire will leave. Can't lose anyone else this summer. Phoenix, Maguire's going to stay. Maguire is going to stay. Put it that way. Maguire is going to stay. Maguire is going to say no. I knew. Switch says Cunha rotation. So look, Trossard, Cunha, and Mbeumo are rotational plays for the quality squad depth, but we need the better forward. United has become a small team now. Look, we're not a small team. Look, I disagree. I do. There's a difference between a small club and a ineffective and terrible club. United at the moment, or for the last couple of years, have been an irrelevant club, but we're not a small club. Let's just not pretend that. Next year, when Sancho back, nope. I was hoping there would be more to come from him, but it seems like he's given the best. He's got no sign. Milton says hi, hello. Casemiro is leaving 1,000%. We need Tonali and one of Wharton and Anderson. Jabs, he's not coming. Tonali's not coming, mate. Look, please, Tonali is not coming. Tonali is not coming. Anderson is not coming. Look, please don't believe this. I was talking about Semenyo in December. I refused to jump on that Semenyo hype train because I got told a number of things that he wasn't coming. I've also been told that Tonali, look, United love Tonali. Anderson as well. They are in the Anderson camp, but they're not going to get him. They are not going to get him. This is what we're going to get. Is this? is that just like in the summer, this club spins everybody. This club will, I guarantee you, you'll be Tonali, a Wharton, and Anderson. A Wharton is probably the more realistic of the three. But what you are going to get is you're going to get channels, and I refuse to do it. We're going to get channels spinning you. Stop believing the Tonali crap. It's not going to happen. We're only going to have about £200 million to spend this summer. Look, I'm not going to go over the financial stuff again now. I am going to do a video on it. But as of today, as of this point, Tonali is not going to happen. It's not only the money, it is going to be the wages. And United need to reduce the wage bill down. They absolutely have to. And Anderson and Tonali this summer would mean the budget is gone, and basically our structure of a wage would be ridiculous. Because if Bruno Fernandes is going to stay, as many people want him to stay, that's 400k a week. That's an extra uplift of 100k. You're going to have Tonali's going to be pushing to 50, and Anderson is going to want that as well. And the reason why you're going to have to pay those sorts of money to those players is because City are going to offer an Anderson 300k a week. Tonali is going to be offered that from Real Madrid, from so it's just not going to happen. Let's have a little look what we're saying here. We need to move forward, even if it's painful in short term. So Cunha was a Ghana replacement, and Cunha is a rotational player, and Ghana was a starter. No, Cunha wasn't a switch. Cunha and Garnacho are two different players. Cunha and Garnacho are two different players. Cunha wasn't a Garnacho replacement. And the reason why he wasn't is because that is not how Ruben played. Cunha is a number 10. Cunha is not a Garnacho. We are looking to buy a left wing player. Cunha is not a winger. Cunha is a number 10. Cunha is the Bruno Fernandes role. Bruno Fernandes is, you can argue that he's a 10. I think he's more of a free role, but Cunha for me is a 10. And look, look, mate, we're not going to agree on this one. Garnacho wasn't always a starter. Cunha is not the same position. He's a winger. Cunha for me is a number 10. And look, we're gonna disagree on it, right? The point I'm trying to make is I'm not saying that Cunha is not a starter. I'm saying in a team that I would build, in a first team, I think if we're going to play with wingers, which I think we are, I think we'll play with a left wing and a right winger sort of player. Cunha, where does Cunha start? You know, Cunha for me, I like Cunha. Is Cunha good enough to start in this team? Yes. Is Cunha a starter in this team? Yes. But I think Cunha, for me, if you're building your team and you're trying to get to win a league and a Champions League, and you're trying to improve that front three, in the long term, I think they're better players than Cunha. I do. Cunha, I think he's a fantastic player. I think he's capable of some amazing things, but I don't think Cunha is this first name on the team sheet if you get better players. I don't, mate. I don't. I like Cunha. I like him. In this team, he's a starter, 100%. But I think that we can improve on Cunha. I do. Jack says, I'm going to the Leeds match. I thought it would be at the weekend. I have to pay for an extra night stay now. When you're going to get a decent ground. Don't know, mate. Still is another option from the Bundesliga. City, Anderson bound. Tonali, nope. Tonali and Anderson, the top targets. Hard to get, but not impossible. Nope. Phoenix, we're not getting one of them. mate. We're not going to get one, mate. We're just not going to do it. We're not going to do it. I'll get through, and then I think we'll get one of Tonali and Anderson for sure. Jab, mate. We're not going to do it. We're not going to do it. It's not going to be done. It's not going to be done. And Scott, the price is not going to be that, mate. The price is going to be 100 million. I know you're saying the price is 87.9 million. That's not going to be the price, mate. That is not going to be the price. There's going to be a bidding war. He will go for 100 million plus. There is no way that if they sold Isak for 140 million pounds, there is absolutely no way that they're going to sell us him for anything less than 100 million. Big up Arsenal. The air night is fine. If we get Champions League next season, add another 100 to what we spent last summer. Jab, it doesn't work like that, mate. It doesn't work like that, buddy. It doesn't, mate. We'll have to clear out the wage bill, mate. Look, mate. It doesn't work like that. You can add in another 100 million pounds. Yes, mate. I'm going to do another show, Jab, that shows you how even if you factor in the Champions League money, you're still not going to be able to spend all that money on players, mate. You're just not going to be able to. Tonali, please, then I'll be happy. So Garnacho sucks. He runs non-stop, has a mean plus everything into performance. I think he's great. I agree with you. The budget is tight. The choice of any player, we must be careful. Diamonde for left wing. Cunha is the best he'll ever become, in my opinion. As someone said on the chat, he's a squad player. That's what I said. Look, I think Cunha. Look, maybe I've started off a debate. I like Cunha. This is not about me saying that Cunha isn't a fantastic player. Cunha is great in this side, but I just think that there is room for improvement, and if we get better players, Cunha is not going to start. I guarantee you this. This is my prediction, right? If we suddenly get better forward players and Bruno Fernandes doesn't leave, I reckon by the end of next season, Cunha is going to be pushing for a move. The thing I'm concerned about is Cunha's ability to create. Ghana was unfortunately a starter due to the lack of options. I understand what you mean about Cunha. Wouldn't play left wing for Premier League winning team. Do you think 60 for Cunha was too much to pay JB? 120 for Cunha and Mbemo does seem like a step back. Do I think 60 million for Cunha was too much? No, I don't really. I tell you why. I tell you what I think Cunha was a good deal for now, and I'll tell you why Cunha in the long term is not the answer, right? So we spent 60 million on him, right? As a team, let's just say you play, I don't know, Club FC or you know, if you start off as not a very good team, right? And you need to get better and better and better, and you buy players for the now that are going to improve you, right? We were never going to go and get the world's best players. Cunha was perfect for now, but we spent 60 on him. But just think about this. If we've gone from 15th and we finished 3rd, then that's a great signing. We couldn't get the best of the best, so we needed to get the best of the rest. And Cunha for me is the best of the rest. Cunha is a player that we needed now, and I think the Cunha signing is amazing. I think it's such a fantastic signing. And if we finish third or fourth, it's paid for itself in some respects because we've gone from 15th to fourth. So you need that. So it's almost like you get players to suit the situation that you're in. We needed to get back into the top 5, 6, right? Cunha is that player. Cunha is a fantastic player. Now, Cunha is in probably, if you're looking at the top 20 players in the Premier League this season, Cunha's up there. But it's just some players are the here and now. Long term, if you want to progress, you need to move beyond these players. I think Cunha is a very, very limited player. I think he's reached the peak of his powers. He's perfect for now. I think Cunha, I would hold on to Cunha until the contract ends because I think Cunha is going to be, would be a fantastic option. Imagine if you got, let's just imagine this. Imagine if you got your first choice left back, left winger, right winger, your striker, Bruno at 10, right? And then imagine one of those players gets like a knock, or Fernandez gets a knock. Imagine being able to bring on a Cunha. Imagine if you're in the Premier League or the Champions League and you need to rest players, Cunha plays. So even if Cunha is a squad rotational player more than a first teamer, and when I say a squad player, I don't just mean he sits on the bench and he's crap. I mean he literally would play every game, right? And he'll push his game. And if it meant that Cunha in a 60 odd, say we play 60 games a season, Cunha's going to play at least 30 games, but I don't think Cunha. I think Cunha was a good signing. Your temperature goes up when I'm worried about Boomer going missing in games. United must be patient. Sui, we've been patient, mate, for 20 years. I think whether Cunha is a starter or not is the least of our worries. Agreed with you. Not a step back. The price was steep, maybe. I think 60 for Cunha is quite a good deal. Was a little much for Cunha. Oh no, Cunha is decent enough play to have in a squad for a title. No, I agree with you. Cunha has been Bruno's replacement. Will be Bruno's replacement in the future. I don't think that's why he was bought, but I think so. Look, that's the best. That's the best yet. Proper nice. It's gone. It's gone. I've changed my name. And don't forget, we'll be in 4 cups next season. I do agree with you. So look, let's go. Let's get on to the players. So look, what have I been told? And I will give you the players that I've been told to watch out for. So the first is, so let's go through some of these players. Now look, we know that we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks that people are lazy. People are lazy. They'll give you the Anderson. They gave you all that sort of stuff, right? Now there are 3 signings. One who is I think has come out into the mainstream today in a Sangare. So Sangare is there. It'll be hard to replace Fernandez. I think you're right, but I don't want to replace him. Who could you see as left back? A lot of talk mentioning it. So Bolde, is it? I can never pronounce his name. There is talk of a swap deal for that as well. I wouldn't disagree with that, Jabs. I don't disagree. I think that would be a decent deal to do, but it depends on whether we actually need the cash for Rashford. Pens at the ready, kids. Our biggest problem is we now have what we're going to do with Mount, always injured on a big contract. Mark, there's nothing we can do with Mason Mount. There's nothing we can do with Mason Mount. Mason Mount, it is horrific. It is horrific. I don't think that Mason Mount is going to go anywhere. I think the fact that he's got the 7 shirt 300k a week, I think is disgusting. But that isn't on us. So the 3 players in Gari, a Godo. So from for Strasbourg and Jesus Rodríguez from Como. So Sangare, Nottingham Forest. Look, this has been put out into the media already. United guy, Milan is red. Yes, it is. The Mount Dew is just a nightmare all round. Never made sense from the start. Look, that was a Ten Hag. That was a Ten Hag pushing for a Mason Mount. Awful deal. I would put the Mason Mount deal up there with any of the worst deals that we've done ever. And I think Ten Hag alone should take a bunch of responsibility for that. I thought that was an atrocious deal. So Sangare, look, who is Sangare? Look, defensive midfielder. This season, 20 starts, 18 starts, 2 as subs. Defensive midfielder, a really, really big, tall lad. He's going to be, what is he? He is the only thing to consider on this is he's going to be this year 29. He's going to be 30 next year. Mason Mount is the GOAT that brought back the 7 curse. What a legend. So Sangare, he's going to be 29 this year. He's only just turned. I need to go and open my fast food. Just came across your channel today. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it, buddy. Legend. How do JB? Mount Deal, worst deal in history, kind of. Herbie, legend. I think he is. I noticed our 2 worst coaches having a job at the moment, probably spending their sacking money. That's true. I think the reason why I think the Mason Mount is probably going to be the worst deal is because they knew that he was injured. So for me, Dragon Butter says Viva United. So look, Sangare, Nottingham Forest, is going to be 29 years old at the end of this year. Tall guys, look, 20 starts, 2 goals, 2 assists. I mean, look, that's not his bag anyway. 87.7 passes complete. Long balls, 57%. Tackles, 38. Interceptions, 14. He wins 50.7% of his duels. He wins, I think, 60% of the aerial duels, 58 recovery, 34 clearances. Look, he is a defensive midfielder all about the volume. He is a defensive midfielder who is Premier League proven, excellent ball retention, very, very good at progressing the ball, very, very good at high passes. So he's good at passing, ball progression, retention, tackles, interceptions. He's big. On paper, he is fantastic. The problem for me is that I think that Forest are going to want massive money. I think Forest are going to want 45 to 50 million plus. Now, look, we can argue and say that, they're going to go down, but I think they're going to want massive money, and he's 29 this year. Look, there's the defensive midfielders, in my opinion, can go on slightly longer. Have got to go on JB's corner. I'm finishing soon. Live again tonight. I'm not sure. I'm not due to go live on a Monday night. I might go live. I'll put it into the community, but I might do a live show tonight. So look, Sangare for me. Do I think Sangare is worth the money? I think at 50 million, I think that's a little bit too much. I think I would rather go for an Onana at Aston Villa. I think he's the same player, younger, but that's who I would go for. I like Sangare, but Sangare would have to be at a good price. I think Sangare would represent cheap. I think Sangare would be the cheap option. I don't think Sangare would be the option, first choice option. So for me, look, Sangare, I like Sangare. The thing that puts me off is his age. It does. You know, look, we're if you look at what INEOS do, the profile of player that they want to get is they don't want to get anybody over 26. He's going to be 29 this year. He's going to be very, very expensive. So look, Sangare is on that list. If United can get him at a cheap deal, then they will do that. But I think just keep an eye on that one now. So a Godo next. So Godo is a from the Ivory Coast, Strasbourg. He is a winger. Now he is going to be 26. So he's just on the cusp of the profile that INEOS like. He's a left winger. Plays. What about Luis? Villa have the option on him, but if they don't take him, would you switch if it meant him as a squad player? Yes. If he's our target, if Luis is going to be our main midfield player, then that's going to be scary. Would I take him? The problem for me, Switch, and this is not me. This is not me saying that your opinion is wrong. If as we're being told we're trying to push for a Champions League, if we're trying to push for a Premier League, Luis would have to be a squad signing. He can't be our first choice. I would take him as a squad player, but I just don't want to take players anymore. I want squad depth, and I want our first choice targets. So if it meant we got him and we didn't get our first choice, then my view straight away on that would be no. But if we were going to get him as a squad player, then yes. But I think he has to be a squad player. James says, is it true United want Casemiro to stay out another year, or is it media bullshit? What I've been told is that Casemiro staying is a possibility. I've been told Casemiro staying is a possibility. And the reason it is a possibility is because United are shit scared they're not going to get their targets. Casemiro is leaving, but there is talk of behind the scenes that United are trying to get him to delay a decision on where he's going to go until they can sign a player. So what United want to do is Casemiro is going, right? But they want Casemiro to delay his decision until United have definitely got one of their midfield targets. So just keep an eye on that one, because United he's going, but United want him to delay the decision until they've definitely got a midfielder. Otherwise, they would take Casemiro for a year. Need to go for Camavinga. United will not sign anyone of any worth. I guarantee it. Be the future. We've got no money. Exactly. Look, is he staying? Won't sign. If he's staying, they won't sign anyone. Good take, Maguire with him. All our targets want to go elsewhere. Telling you that we'll get the kids for the future. So look, let's quickly go through these. So Godo for Strasbourg. Look, we are looking at him. And the reason why we are looking at him, he's 26 years old. Look, he's not cutting up trees, but market value of this player. Chris said, will he take the reduced wages? Saudi will bomb him. this is what United are trying to look. Casemiro, think of him as gone. Think of Casemiro as gone. But United are trying to make him are trying to make him delay the decision in case they can't get their first choice. So all I'm saying is think about it as Casemiro is on a standby. If Casemiro signs an extension, be afraid. Be very, very, very afraid. Look, they want 150 max wages. He's on 300 exactly. So look, guys, I am going to go. I'll bring in the other players later on. I'll do another show tonight. And I'll bring in those players that I was going to bring in now, but I do have to go. So look, interesting stuff again. It is really is this stuff is going to go round and round. You are going. It wouldn't surprise me tonight if some of the other channels led on Rodríguez tonight from Como, the Godo from Strasbourg tonight. So don't be surprised if you see those getting handed out tonight, because I think that they could do. I should be back in and around. I should be back around 9:30 tonight. So I'll come back on tonight. I'll do a 9:30 show tonight, 9:30, 10, and I'll bring those guys into the show tonight, and then we can go through that as well. And we'll go through some of the financial stuff as well tonight, and then we can look at that again, and we can talk about that again, and we'll go through that stuff. So look, guys, amazing to be back. Appreciate you guys being here as well. Absolute legends of the channel. Look, we're 40,000 subs now. It's absolute amazing. Look, I can't believe it. Look, it just means as the channel gets bigger and bigger, it just means I can commit more and we can do some more amazing things here. So look, guys, thank you for watching. You guys are legends, and it is true. This channel is nothing without you guys. 100% true. So look, I will be back this evening. Have a good rest of your morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm JB. This is the United Devil channel, and I will see you tonight. Take care.